anxiety, like, oh, it helps me. So without further ado, let's see what causes us to have anxiety. Number one, what causes anxiety is number one, and the most easiest thing to understand are our attachments. Things that we are attached to. Whether like our mental attachment, our physical attachment, the senses, our thoughts, everything. These things causes us to have anxiety. So our attachments to things that are impermanent, that is the whole idea. We are attached. We naturally, human beings, we have to rely on something. We are created as such. You get what I'm trying to say? You cannot not rely on anyone. And that's the mistake of this day and age, independence. I know in Malaysia it's good, alhamdulillah, everybody is pushing everybody to read and to study Islam and secularization. When I was doing my diploma at IUM, our teachers asked us to read, I tak baca. Until much later, when I'm less distracted, I'm like, oh, such an important book. I wish I read this when I was doing my PhD at 12 years old. It's that important that I think even children should read it. You get what I'm trying to say? Because it tells you the web of anxiety. Not just how secularism affects us, but the effects of secularization or secularism is, I feel, for my takeaway of that is anxiety. Because that's the effect it has on us. So I'm happy to be in circles where people are reading this because it's good. I have people who've been making tawbah for not being able to read it yet. You get what I'm trying to say? Oh, Roshik, I cannot read it yet. I'm trying my third time, fourth time. I'm trying many times. And sometimes we feel that, this is too academic for us, it's too cheap, we say in Singapore, too high level. Actually, it's not. It's our anxiousness that does not allow our mind to comprehend knowledge. Let's carry on. So that's a side note for you. Life by nature is impermanent. So this is something that we have to counsel the self. Like Imam al-Ghazali goes in Bidayatul Hidayah. Counsel yourself. Right? When you wanted to do good works, etc., tell yourself this. Counsel your heart. So counseling me, first, must be ourselves to ourselves first. That's when you understand ad-deenu nasiha. Deen is nasihat. So who must you counsel first? Yourself. Because the deen first must be alive in yourself. Itulah maknanya bidayatul hidayah. That's the meaning of the beginning of guidance. You being able to counsel yourself to say, I am nothing but a servant of Allah. That's the most important counsel you can give to yourself. Right? So, first must counsel yourself that life by nature is impermanent. Everything in life is impermanent. Nothing here that you see is going to be permanent. Nothing. Myself, yourself, everything here is temporal. And that's why according to the way of the Sufiya, it is called Naqshbandi, the corporal world. Right? Which means it is made up of elements of earth, fire, wind and water, etc. Right? So, kampung-kampung lah, lah, we have no science lah, apa lah. But these are the basic elements which exist within ourselves, that creates the four humors, that creates illnesses, that creates this and that, etc. When we understand this, that this power itself is also impermanent, then you're already halfway overcoming your anxious problem, or the problem of anxiety. So the first note you must put, what causes anxiety, is that our attachment. Our attachments to what? To life as we see in this temporal world, and we keep thinking to ourselves that this is going to go on forever and ever. Let go back to the next. And ever. Siapa lagi dah tak tahu? I keep hearing it.
Outcast.
Forever. So it goes on. So this is the dhikr of the dunya. The secularization dhikr is what? It's for? Not for dunya, it's for ever. So when you go and read the book, this is going to go on for? That's the dhikr that's sending you. And that's the dhikr we've been buying, and that's the dhikr that we've been doing that causes us to have anxiety. You get what I'm trying to say? The temporal power that we attach ourselves to. So then what happens? Everything in life will taste death, So we must understand this, and this is one important takeaway today. Number one, so our journey in life is to prepare ourselves for death. Our journey in life is to prepare ourselves for. And lately in our Jama'ah, we've been having a lot of people who are ill, different illnesses, etc. So when I visited them, I told them, look, you're not dying yet. Because our community always thinks, when it's cancer, matiya. Or we say in Singapore, daya. When you have this illness, daya. Daya. Everything also, daya. And then I told them in the hospital, I said, look, there are young people jogging outside and they're dying, and you inside in 4 months, you're still not dead. Of course, it's a rough way to give nasihat, but it's the best way. You're still alive, I said. Because life and death is in the hands of whom? Not the illness. But anxiety tells us the minute you have cough, COVID. The minute you sneeze a bit, that's it, COVID. Every single thing in this, and so it triggers. So you're not just looking for one trigger, now we have multiple triggers. May Allah protect us. So our journey in life is to what? To prepare for death. To prepare for death. And that's what Imam Al-Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi has mentioned, that you have the one companion that has been with you ever since the day you were born. This companion has not left you. And then he asked his students this, and his students asked, what is it? And Imam, they said many things. He said, no, all of your answers are wrong, it's death. Death will be with you. You cannot get it out. When we were young, my grandfather used to tell us the story. There was this king from the past, a lot of time. When he said, I don't want to die. So what did he do? He built a palace and it's airtight. So what happens? Then my grandfather said in that story, the angel of death came and said, oh, is that my job for me? Because naturally he would what? Die. Because he knew that, it's through air or something, he wants to protect himself. So my grandfather said, it's ridiculous for you to try to avoid death. And this is the very thing that we're anxious about because of the way we've been programmed to look at life, that it goes on forever. So what causes this attachment that makes us anxious? We must be asking ourselves, right? So there is this anxiety, right, that we identify, I'm always anxious. And why? Because it's attached to impermanence. And what makes us attached to impermanence? So can you write here? That's what impermanence causes anxiety. Just to keep our minds. I got this slide. Maybe I need a PA for slide. So impermanence causes anxiety. Now what gives birth to our attachments to this impermanence? Our teachers always tell us there's 4 things. And this is the first zikr that you have to do when you enter the Khanqah. Okay? What are the 4 enemies of the self, children? Ego lagi? Nafsu. Love of the world. Whispering. That's the first zikr. Not even la ilaha illallah, not even istighfar, not even anything else. Write them down. So the impermanence that causes anxiety, or what gives birth to this anxiety, is what? The first, number 1 is ego. And it is in this order that you must understand your 4 enemies. First is the ego. Number 2 is what? And nafsu, as all of you know, there are 7 levels of the nafs. So not all of the nafs is bad. It's the nafs that incites you to nafsul ammara bisu. The insightful soul that brings you to badness, to baseness. And number 3 is what? Love of the world. You might say, oh, I don't love the world. I'm ready to give up my handphone. Handphone ajal. There's so many things that we're attached to in this dunya. Our Korean drama series, our Hindustani songs. You get what I'm trying to say? I watched them. So what to do? Love of the world. Isha. Oh, she's the Tamil. Isha. Oh, she's the Tamil. That's my mujahada, She's the Tamil. You get what I'm trying to say? These are things that we go through every day. These are actually signs of what? Hope dunya. love of the world, because there is an attachment to it. And number 3 is what? Sorry, number 4 is? This is the weakest of the 4. So when you're actually doing ruqyah, you're actually, minta orang obatkan to have ruqyah, etc. I think I've been possessed, then you recite on me. And then you get all those reactions, screaming, shouting, vomiting. Who do you think the first to react out is for? Are you sure? You ask the Raki, are you sure my ego reacts this way? This must be shaitan. If you experience heaviness to wake up for Fajr, then know that comes from your ego, the vomiting, the screeching, the shouting. It is also possible that the ego can also be affected by the recitations of Quran. Because we fail to see the base characters within ourselves. And what keeps the anxiety going is to always think that the problem is outside of us, never within us. So these are the 4 things. Number 1, the ego, nafsu, love of the world, and whispers of shaitan. If you were to leave this talk with one thing, live with this. That you know the 4 enemies of the self. Understand? What is the ego? It is a perception of the self. So now we're going to try to explain a bit of this, but mainly on the ego because of time. It is who we think we are. And in this day and age, if you have read Islam and secularization, it talks about what? Identity, about youth, about this, things that glamorizes the self. So we're living in a time and system that really pushes for self-love. That's why I always say there's a difference between healing oneself and loving oneself, because love is meant to be shared. There are 4 types of people in a relationship. Number 1, people who are here to take. So in a relationship, you see there are people who are just here to take. Oh, because he owed now. Maybe I can get more from him. So we keep what? Keep taking in that relationship. And number 2, there are people who give you to take from you. You get what I'm trying to say? I give you this, maybe I can get that from you. There's always a transactional relationship. That's how the ego works as well. Number 3 are people who take to give. This is good. Right? And akhir are people who are just here to give. And these are the people who have moved from selfishness to selfless. And those are the degrees of the ego. If we're children, someone takes our sweet away, it's obvious love. World War III, you get in front and say, I want that. But sometimes the problem is we grow up into like 40 or 50-year-old, still like that. It's the attachment of the ego, right? Who am I? What am I? The identity that we create for ourselves. We create ourselves. That's the ego. Now, this is a dangerous process as well. If we live in a time that they talk about peeling, right? You're going to peel yourself from layer to layer to understand yourself, etc. I feel it's a dangerous process. Because it is important to know the power and the wisdom within you before you actually start to peel yourself and find there's nothing within you. And that's where I talk about zikr later. That's where the zikr comes in. Some of us might be saying, and I get this often even in Singapore, why don't you hide the Tariqah identity? I say, why? Because some people might be uncomfortable. I say, good, I've done my da'wah then. If people are not comfortable, then I've done my da'wah. Because I've shaken their ego a bit, isn't it? Because what is Tariqah? Discipline, committing to a teacher, then becomes cultish, then becomes what? Spiritual abuse. It does exist. I'm not saying it does not. It does exist, but not everybody is like that. So if we have done that, we've made you uncomfortable, alhamdulillah, it's the first step of da'wah. We must be comfortable with the things that we are comfortable with. Because the ego always wants things to be comfortable. But I'm here to give, I'm not here to take. So we don't care what people think about us, literally. We care if people have nasiha for us. You get what I'm trying to say? Because this is our identity, the identity of Zikrullah. You get what I'm trying to say? This is how the ego manipulates with us. And this becomes a barrier between us and what is reality. Because before even going close, we've placed a boundary. No, I've read it on an IG post. No way. I'm going to go and take a new age path. Then you're going to get different wisdom and energy and power altogether. All right? So, the identity that we create for ourselves, which most of the time is based on nafsu, love of the world, and whispering of shaitan. This is the ego. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks us to make sujood. To remember Him, two things, sujood and dhikr. Because these two things are the most difficult for the ego. And in my past 10 years of working with people, when they get into fits of anxiety, the first question I ask them is, have you prayed? Always, 80% of the time the answer then is, no, I've left prayer for a certain period of time. So that's the first sign we have to ask ourselves is, where is my prayers? This is the first question will be asked. This is the first sign, the identity of a Muslim is up to Salah. And it's that very thing that will, bit by bit, suppress the ego. Suppress the ego. Salah. Because it's within a certain time. The ego doesn't want to do it, does not want to do it on time. Correct? You get what I'm trying to say? Like example, you just fought with your boss, katakan. And then the next day you purposely take, medical leave from work. Right? Why you never come in? Sakit lah. Padahal is what? You're angry with your bosses. So purposely on that day when everybody's busy, you're going to throw them a medical cert MC. You see how you perform without me. The same thing we also apply to our prayers. Why don't you pray? Until it's the same ego. But we don't see it as ego because of the selfishness within the self. If it is the selfless, then all the more they won't be distancing, but will try to make what? To bridge the gap of distancing. Because they're selfless. Of course, there's a difference between being bullied now. Let's put that aside. We are always looking out for the bad points. You get what I'm trying to say, no? Even when learning knowledge, the anxiety of the brain tells us, but I'm being bullied. Don't you know? Let's put it aside and understand the knowledge first before we apply it to our own self. Attachment does that to the way we think. And then, egocentric pride, this is the characteristics of it. Egocentric pride looks at things superficially. So there's always a superficial way of understanding situation. It's never about seeing the power and wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala behind everything in our life. You get what I'm trying to say? Now we're talking about impermanence, right? Impermanence. And this impermanence causes anxiety. Now the ego makes you look at this world with what? And superficially. Not looking behind the impermanence. What do you see? Permanence. Who is permanent? Whose power is permanent? So we always look at things superficially. Not we, I'm just saying, I'm not saying we, I'm just saying. When we look at things superficially, we lack that thinking actually because we're attached to impermanence and we're not attached to the permanent. Although we tell ourselves, I've been making dua, I've been making a lot of prayer, I've been making a lot of zikr, I've been making this and that. But it is because we refuse to change the way we think and try to look at what is beyond this impermanence. our problems cannot be permanent. You get what I'm trying to say? Our problems cannot be permanent because only Allah is. But our attachment to our problems makes us feel that our problems are. And that's why the Shaykh asked us to do Zikr or Suluk. I'll talk about Zikr in a while. So what we need to do is, we need to see the permanence behind the. What is the permanence here behind this impermanence? And when we always hold on to the impermanence, what happens? No good thoughts can arise. There is always su'udhan, bad thoughts. Anxiety casts this bad thoughts on us. Always bad thoughts on us. Right? In the mind, and no good intentions can arise in the heart. As long as there is an atom worth of the ego. So what is your main hijab between you and Allah? Is it shaitan? Is it love of the world? Is it the nafsu? Then what is it? Because all of this culminates in the ego. If the ego is not there, then what are you fighting? The nafs. Then the nafs becomes clearer. This is nafsu. This is desires. Because the ego then succumbs to the teaching and says, I accept this is my desire, causing me my problems. Then you can tackle that. And then we accept, it is my greediness that causes me to have this. I have a video or a set of, is it what is it called? Spotify. Dulu kita Napster. Zaman rock and roll.
Tak kenal line.
Oh, yeah. Those kind of things, Ya Allah protect us. What is it called? Soundbite? Spotify. We have that on Spotify, the 17 ruinous streets. So from here, the nafsu, you can write the 17 ruinous streets. 17 ruinous streets. 17 streets that will ruin us. That springs from the nafs and from the ego. So, but before you go through those set of videos, I highly recommend you to go through the set of videos about Zikrullah. Because then it'll be too much. Suddenly you say, I have to overcome malice. I have to overcome hatred. I have to overcome covetousness. I have to overcome. But before that, you need to be calm. And you need to do this. That's why the first teaching that we see here at the Khanqah is not, oh, you must take Tariqah or anything like that. But the first thing you need to live here is with what? Zikr and the methodologies of it. Anybody can take from this. It is not an exclusive club of dhikr. Everybody needs to dhikr. It's just that these methodologies are something that we've inherited. Okay, what I'm trying to say? So what happens with this ego and pride? We create habits that causes our lives to be filled with anxiety. So what we can come up with this anxiety here, draw an arrow, habits. Okay. This anxiety, habits. So all these four enemies culminates at the egoistic centric ego self. This ego self causes the anxiety, and this anxiety causes what? Habits. So some of the habits are, when we wake up, we feel anxious. Am I going to die today? Am I still having my job? What's going to happen? Why? How come I don't? Oh, this and that, etc., etc. Then what we do, we take coffee. Sorry, I know you said coffee. I think of chocolate. So you take Milo, jangan tukar. Minum Milo, anda jadi sihat dan kuat. InsyaAllah. Astaghfirullah. Too much effort in my mind. So these things causes this habit. So then we enter our offices looking at the world as a battlefield. So you enter the office, Mithal, and then the receptionist say, "Hi, Uzaifa, how are you?" The first thing you say in your mind, katakan, "I think this lady has hasad me." Then you sit down and then your If the next person beside you, how was your weekend? Why she keep on? Huh? Why thinking like this? Must be you want to know lah. Tak ada kerja lain ke nak jaga tepikan orang? These thoughts create bad habits. And these bad habits creates what? You can draw another line after the bad causes bad thoughts. Causes habits, right? So anxiety causes bad thoughts, causes bad habits, causes obstacles in life. Then we go to the Ustaz, bacakan doa selamat. Dah selamat insyaAllah. But then we go back to our anxiety. Then you create more obstacles. It's not that the doa didn't work. It's that we didn't allow that doa, that madad, that power to enter into our lives. Because we're cut off with our habits. So bad habits is not just things that you do, difficulty in waking up, etc., etc. These bad habits are caused by anxiousness, which are caused by the ego, which are caused by this and that. Then you understand the cycle, then you need to look at yourself. Which parts of me I need to change? Is it because, you don't understand the ego now? How do I perceive myself? I always think I need memang handsome. Katakan, to the point that you become arrogant. Or we think, I'm the most educated chap in the office. I should be the one most promoted. There's a bad habit because you have no good thoughts on the friend that's been promoted. Maybe he has a skill set that we don't have. But we're always thinking someone is out getting us. So one way to overcome this ignorance is to understand the 4 ways of looking at the world. The people who look at the world as a battlefield. So everything pun dia nak perang. Number 2 are people who look at the world as a trap. So they're always looking for another place to live in. I think TTDI not good lah. I need to go somewhere else. You go to that other place, this place is not good. I need to go somewhere else. Everywhere on this earth is not good, so they're moving to Mars. So people who live in a trap are people who try to look at their world from a khayal, in a bad way. They always dream about something better. These fantasies are a projection of the ego, actually. There was once I wanted to go to study lah. That time, back in early 2000s, I wanted to go to Hadramaut. That time, Abi Omar baru buka Darul Mustafa. 2000 lah, around there. My Sirah teacher told me, are you doing a tahajjud? I said, what is that got to do? I said, he told me, I think he read my mind. Then he said, if you can't do your tahajjud here, don't think you'll be able to do your tahajjud in Italy. I said, betul juga. I was like, from that day onwards, I told myself, I think I need to go there. Because there's many ways of looking at this nasiha, but then I told myself, of course, what will live is tahajjud. This mama wants to go there and become, this and that. It's the ego, youth kan. Darah muda pun, all the nasi lemak inside. So these are nasiha that comes from teachers that puts you in your place. Which is important in this day and age because the secular world makes us think that we're all worth it. When there's a lot of work that needs to be done. A lot of muhasabah, mujahada. I'll explain this 4 later. So then after that is looking at the world with love. That's when the self starts to dissipate, the ego starts to dissipate a bit. And you see the value of loving and forgiving and sharing with others. And then akhir is looking at the world as the self, which means if the right hand feels pain, you feel the pain too on the left hand. The ummah is like a building block. We talk about this, right? That means whatever my brother feels, I feel it too. Whatever pain he's going through, I feel it too. But to arrive to that is not just a mental state, but it is when we've truly submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be able to give. Understand? So inshallah, from the time we wake up to the time we sleep, and in some cases, even in our sleep, we do it with anxiety. So even when we sleep, right? We sleep in an anxious state. May Allah protect us. So now when you go back home, when you're about to sleep, what must you tell yourself? Amantu billahi wa rasulihi. And this is the best protection. Thank you. This is the best protection. That you tell your mind. So this is the first practice. Is what? I have faith in Allah and Sayyidina Muhammad. Not on your tongues, not even in the heart, but in your brain. You know, while we're growing up, there was this saying, I think most of you might know this, and it starts with a question. And there's a lady that always asks me this. She goes like, what's in your head? In your head. Apa jawapan dia? What is the answer? So what's in your head? Oh, astaghfirullah. Do you know that they're saying? Most of you are looking at me, you don't listen to music, huh? MashaAllah, alim, Tori.
No, can't get it on here.
All the zombies. No, they made it into a movie, right? Train 2. See, you all know about this. You are living in the system of zombies. Train to Busan, what's in your head, all the zombies, etc. How to find peace? This is just a reflection of what we carry within ourselves. And yet, when we go to Mukha and Medina, oh, subhanallah, they punya tajalli of peace. The minute they balik to KRIA, the song comes back. What's in your head? You know, it continues. May Allah protect us. So these are the causes of anxiety. Number one is what? The ego. And the attachment to the impermanence. So you go back home and you look at yourself and ask yourself, am I really attached to the impermanence? Because kullu nafsin dha'iqatul maut. Kita selalu dengar. We see at the side of the keranda, on the van, semua kita dah baca kan? But it's to remind us that this life is to prepare us for death. You can't escape this. It's to prepare us for death. You cannot escape this. So it's either we're going to face death with anxiety, or we're going to face death with qalbun salim, a heart that is safe. Safe from what? Anxiety. You don't have to go, oh, I must save my heart from all of the nafsu, from all of this, all of that. No. Shaitan has tricked you. He has left that game. Now he's changed the term to what? Anxiety. How you want to receive death? Or how are we going to receive death? It's either with anxiety or with qalbun, a heart that is safe. Inshallah. And that's what we're preparing. Every moment we prepare with our prayers. We prepare with our zikr. We prepare with going, even meeting for Silatul Rahim. Do that. When we meet a brother, when we meet a sister, etc., we give salam, etc. If we keep our bad thoughts aside, then you're actually preparing for death. When you have husnul zon on someone else, good thoughts. Nothing here is not to prepare you for death. It's our anxiety that makes us anxious about death. You get what I'm trying to say? Now, number two, we're going to talk about this, the effects anxiety has on us. Itulah main nyanyi. Betul tak? Sorry Ahmad.
Sedap.
Terima kasih. Mana-mana nak recording ni pun thinking of a career change. Midlife katakan. Yeah, midlife causes a lot of anxiousness, correct or not? That is, if we think we live to 80. You get what I'm trying to say? See what we're selling ourselves with? We don't know. But what we know is the permanence. Who's the permanence? Allah. I am closer to you than your. So Allah is closer to us than even our death. But we're not looking for Him. Because of our anxiousness, we're always entrapped with the impermanence and temporal. But we're not with the permanence. Okay? So the effects anxiety has on us. Two things that will arise with anxiety. So when you're anxious, two things will arise. Number one, the dullness of understanding. So you're always difficult to understand things. Susah nak masuk ilmu. Difficult to get the ilm into the self. And so Imam Shafi'i rahmatullah alayhi went to his teacher Imam Waqid. Imam Shafi'i, like the greatest Imam in human history, right? Imam Waqid says, he went to Imam Shafi'i, Imam Shafi'i went to him, to his teacher, and says, I can't memorize. His teacher said, knowledge is light. What comes in between the light of knowledge is actually your sins. Imam Shafi'i, my friend. What more about us? So when we are anxious, sins do have a role to play in us being anxious as well. But that's for another topic another time. If you listen to the videos, I talk about that as well. So what causes with anxiety? Dullness of understanding and the lack of awareness of the people around us and even ourselves. We're not aware of things. You get what I'm trying to say? Example, the other day I was walking to the Khanqah, so I take the bus. I take the bus and I have to cross the street to take the MRT to the Khanqah. So while crossing the street, this green man, I cross red man too. So a green man and walk, then there's a pickup truck just 10 steps away from me. He just drove. And I looked at the driver's face. He was looking like for direction. So he was in a way not in a good state of mind of driving. This is daylight. So a lot of the lack of awareness that we carry within ourselves because of our anxiety causes us to make mistakes, causes us to risk our lives and the lives of others as well. Because the ego says, what I need to do must come first before others. You get what I'm trying to say? The ego doesn't always have to look like, Dracula and we think, oh, I'm free. I tak ada mana ni Dracula kat dalam diri I tak ada. When you really reflect, the ego is so sly, it will not show you its true colors. And that's why we need a mirror. And the best of mirror is Sayyidina Muhammad. There was another nasihat about mirror, right? You know that nasihat, man? We're all from the same age group. Nothing but, yeah.
But that one I don't know.
I think so. Michael Jackson. Oh, yeah, but people look at the mirror as many parables. Imam Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi. He uses the mirror parable quite a bit in his works, etc. So we need that mirror. The best of mirrors is Muhammad. What happens is, by then looking at the people who have looked at those mirrors, who have looked at those mirrors, who have looked at those mirrors, so it's beauty upon beauty upon beauty of the reflection of the beauty of Sayyidina Muhammad. Itulah maksudnya sallallahu. You inherit the love and you inherit the beauty of Sayyidina Rasul. So we must be empty of ourselves in order to inherit the beauty. But as long as we have the anxiety that commands us, that destroys the life around us, then how are we going to inherit beauty and love? So, dullness of understanding and awareness. The four enemies. Okay, so anxiety gives birth to this. Dullness of understanding and awareness, which gives birth to bad habits, which gives birth to all of this. Well, the four enemies also will give rise to three things. From these four enemies, another three things will come out. What are they? Ignorance, anger, attachment. So this is the topmost layer of the problem. Because we cannot identify ego. You're not going to say, oh, ego I. On the first day, no way. If it is that easy for you to identify the ego, you don't need guides, you don't need prophet, you don't need anyone. You yourself can do it, DIY. But the fact that the ego is so sly, we need something to look on, and teachers have said there are three things that is easy if you understand these three things. The topmost part, even before you enter the ego, ignorance. Ignorance of what? Ignorance of our own ego. Ignorance of our own nafsu. Ignorance of our own love of the world. Ignorance of the whispers of shaitan. And the first ruinous trait that we must eradicate is anger. So the minute you are trying to eradicate anger, you will eradicate your ego. That's the first one. Although Imam Al-Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi has said in Bidayah Hidayah, hasad dulu. Because envy causes a lot of other things as well. True. But there are a group of shuyukh that also say anger is so important. Because once you're angry, shaitan commands you. That's it. You become his puppet. Then you create more obstacles in your life. Then you cannot achieve to the goal. What is the goal? I tell you the goal later. And number three is attachment. So these four enemies will give birth to these three things: ignorance, anger, attachment. So instead of trying to find your ego, you must overcome the ignorance about the ego first. Ignorance about the love of the world. Ignorance about the nafsu first. Ignorance about the wisdom of shaitan first. Then can we zoom in onto the ego and zoom in onto this. And then you start to realize that we're actually ignorant of a lot of things. Our science didn't teach us much. Science school, huh? Because the purpose of science is to prove Tawheed. But now we use science to overcome our ignorance to prove that we are right. Which is different, right? So that proves our ignorance. We're using knowledge the wrong way. This is all part and parcel of the teachings of Tariqah actually. So important. Dhikr gives birth to such guidance. Okay? Because three things will make us function with negative thoughts, emotional feelings, and the problem of unable to move forward. You cannot move forward. Because we're ignorant about our ego, we're ignorant about the nafsu, we're ignorant about the love of the world, and we're ignorant about shaitan. So we're always caught with the past. So we always tell people, it's all in the past. But how to do that when we're ignorant about our own ego that doesn't want to let go about the past? How to do that when we're ignorant about our love of the world? How come he get that promotion and then we get the promotion? Because we're not able to identify the ego. So it's easy in the talk when I say, okay, your ego is causing you your problem. Then you go back home, you look, ego. Tak ada Ustaz merepek ni, mana ada ego, subhanallah. I'm so pure. Because you can't see it. But what you can't see doesn't mean it does not exist. So that is ignorance. Okay? And through these three things, then number 4 will come. Okay? They absorb the easiest. Well, shaitan will make us think that singing is normal. It's okay to sing. It says, kecil je lah. No problem lah. No problem, it's a small sin, no problem. Allah will forgive us. It's because of the ignorance of the ego. So shaitan now has to do his work. He whispers to us and he directs us to the place that he wants us to go. Allah protect us. And then, through this prompting, shaitan will also teach us 3 points, or make us have these 3 points. Worry, we're anxious, discouraged, and we also believe that the Islamic way of living is boring, burdensome, and oppressive. And this is how shaitan destroys families. And that's for another topic. I have a whole workshop on how a spiritual guide, a Muslim family guide to spiritual protection workshop. Don't worry, it's not about ruqyah, baca. They're all later stage, secondary stage. First, you need to know how is shaitan going to attack you. In fact, that's the job of shuyukh. You need to know who are aduwwun mubin. He is the most manifest enemy. And this is how we protect family institutions as well. Because why? When the family is not spiritually anchored in taqwa, right? And in family, we have different dynamics. Singles, people who are married, religious, sometimes non-religious, etc. They try to come in and to make the person who is weakest in taqwa to have three things. They always feel unwanted. Shaitan will always make you feel the family, or I am unwanted. I am deprived of affection and I am unlovable. Because the way they perceive themselves, so Shaitan works on that. So three things you need to see if your family members need help. Right? Number one is the feeling of unwanted. I always say that to my mother. Baru dapat tea. Dia manja-manja. Pergi rumah mak saya kata, tak sayang lagi lah. Baru dapat my favourite food. But that's just kidding. But really look out for people in your family members who always feel unwanted. People who feel they're deprived of affection and unlovable. Because at this point, right, the ignorance about the self, about the whisperings of shaitan, etc., has become very powerful. And this is how we stop families from breaking up, and that's how we save family institutions. It's not just going about reading the Ruqyah first. You need to identify this even before the need for that. A simple thing like getting everybody to preach Jama'ah together can lift those three feelings away. Because we forgot the power of communal prayers. We forgot the power of having Yasin wa Tahlilan monthly or weekly among the different houses. These are all interventions to save our families and family institutions. There is the academic side of this that's been done by all of you guys, but there is the need to preserve this tradition. Why? Because it preserves family institutions, and that's for another talk altogether. So we must observe these signs. Do we have it? Do we personally have this? Do we carry this? Or does anyone in the family have this three? So inshallah, for another time we go through that. Inshallah. That was slightly more serious topic. Very serious. And what happens with this is that we start to let go. Now, there's a difference between this. We must be aware of this term of letting go. Yeah? And sorry to use this word, I know it's a very famous title for many talks throughout the world. Letting go and letting God. Mm-hmm. These are things that we try to this is a quick fix for you to overcome your depression. But in these terms, there lies in modern New Age spirituality that can be, in a way, a bit misleading. Because we need to identify the thought pulses. So our thought pulses, whether is it from Iman, right? Are these husnul thought, good thoughts, right? I call these pulses. The pulses of the thoughts that comes from your amalan. You get what I'm trying to say? Because there's two malaikat. Malaikat of milham and the malaikat and shaitan that causes waswasa. The malaikat of milham, his job is easy. He gives ilham. The shaitan that causes this waswasa gives you doubts. And Mukha has mentioned that it comes from four directions. Shaitan, we know this from the Quran. It causes doubts about yourself, in God, in sustenance, and you're risky in life and everything. It comes from four directions. And by the mere mention of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, you'll be protected from those four things. But then lies in whether we're strong enough, right, to remain in our faith. Because the anxiety will kick in again. Right? So you need to train your thoughts. This is where muraqabah, muhasabah are so important. After seeking knowledge, do you have muhasabah? Do you do muraqabah? Do you connect with your shuyukh? Do you connect with the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Right? And when we understand those pulses, the amalan, we gain inner strength and openness, and we do not give up. Now this is where I want to tell you the four pillars of life. which is the four pillars of our Khanqah as well. So anybody who enters the Khanqah, they must understand that the Khanqah is based on these four pillars. Awwal. So your life must be based on these four pillars. Number one, ibadah. Ibadah. Number two, pillar number two is mujahada, struggle. What's pillar number two? Mujahada, struggle. Pillar number three, riyadah. By riyadah, I do not mean sports. But by riyadah here, a specific amal that are given to you by your teachers for a short period of time. 40 days, 120 days, etc., etc. Akhir, pillar number four, for your life. And this is your goal in life. What is it? What's pillar number four? La maqsuda illallah. Meaning there is no other goal in my life except. So what are the four pillars of life? Together? And this is how you overcome hopelessness, how we overcome the ego. These are the mechanics that are already coming in because you identify the problems. And the understanding of ibadah, I've given it on the website. You can look at it as the way of Ehsaniyyah. There's an article that we've written called The Way of Ehsaniyyah. And I explained briefly about this, meant to be read daily. That article is meant for you to read daily. It's less than 10 pages. What is the path about? What are the foundations? What are the worship? Anybody can do this. By doing this doesn't mean I might know a murid. No, I'm very clear about who's a murid, who's a muhid. Why? Because it's levels of commitment. You get what I'm trying to say? So everybody can be connected. Everybody can be connected through our worship. Understand? So this, when we have this, the spiritual work, it trains us to not give up in our lives. Back, you understand the philosophy of the mujahada, the struggle, the philosophy of worship, the philosophy of riyadah. Why must I do this for 40 days? Why must I do this for 120 days? How do I create the discipline for that? So the ego will step in. Alah, you dah hari sembahyang pun sama je apa. We must tell ourselves that. So there's the ignorance the ego cast upon what? The power of worship. And the power of spirits of worship, 3 days, 12 days, 14 days, 21 days, 40 days, etc., etc. Now you go gym, right? For the next 20 days, I don't go gym, so I'm just thinking, maybe it's like this. Next 20 days, do biceps. Is it like that? Is it like that? Alhamdulillah, we all don't go gym here. You get what I'm trying to say? Is it like that? If it is, then that's the spiritual gym that we need. Because if not, we cannot create strength, inner strength. We're creating outer strength. So there are amal that we do for the rest of our lives. There are amal that we do once in our lives. There are worship that we do once a year. There are worship that we do a certain time, this time. Like example, mithal, this is just sharing. One of the works of the Khanqah, example. We just finished Ashura, right? So I said, it's based on the book. I said, okay, one of the amals for Ashura is this dua, that dua, this dua, that dua. And one of it is recommended by Sheikh Muhammad Ghaus, the one law, is to pray 100 surah nafil. 100 raka'ah. Okay, why not? Kita buat. We did it, alhamdulillah. And the effect of that is we tell ourselves, you see, body or jasad, you're not lazy, you cannot do it. One is 2 rak'ahs of Fajr compared to the 100 you just did. You get what I'm trying to say? So we need those spirits of ibadah to increase the tenacity and strength within ourselves. Understand? And when we have this, we give up our attachments. When we identify the pulses of thoughts of Iman and we work with those pulses of Iman with the 4 pillars of our lives, can we then let go of our attachment of what? The ego, bit by bit. bit by bit we understand through ibadah, through mujahada, through riyadha, through la maqsuda illallah. All these years I'm having this bad habit because of the power of the ego that it has on me. That is awareness. So can you understand now how much work is needed to be done to achieve awareness? Is one sharahan going to work? One time going to a majlis, is it going to work? It can work. We're not limiting the power of Allah, but on our side, our struggle, it continues until the day we die. Because one of our goals is what? To overcome the anxiety of death. And our dua is what? Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah. So you want goodness in dunya. Wa fil akhirati hasanah. Wa qina adhaban. You know what is hasanah? Not who is hasanah. Okay, who is hasanah? You know who is hasanah? Exactly. I mean, our friends who names Hasanah. But we're not talking about that Hasanah, we're talking about Sayyidina Rasul. Rabbana atina fid dunya, Sayyidina Muhammad. Wa fil akhirati Sayyidina Muhammad. Wa qina adhaban nar. Itu formula Hasanah. And that is the husn, the beauty that you're looking for. Ya Allah, give me Prophet here. The beauty of Prophet here. Can we talk about inheriting, right? Oh Allah, allow me to inherit the beauty of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's found in that dua. This dua has so many tafsir. And this is just one of the tafsir that I hold on to because it encapsulates and it encompasses all the other tafsirs. Then even the feeling of unwantedness, unlovable, lack of affection and desire will slowly fade away if we keep this in our minds. That's what we want, right? And so we give up attachment and we gain freedom. And through this freedom, we gain the hasanah of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But when a person does not train themselves, they don't have point number 2 in the 4 pillars of life. To do this, he would follow his inclination and just give in to whatever that is happening. So when there is no mujahada, no struggle, come what may, anything. You want to throw stone and we throw. You want to take me away, take. You want to stop my work, stop. And we mistake this for what? Tawakkal. Either serahkan pada Allah, anything He wants to do. But there's lack of mujahada. What sarah is there? What letting go is there? What letting God is there? But it's so pleasing to the nerves when someone tells the ego, you are actually on the right path. Let go and let go. But actually we're not. We've let it go to our ego. May Allah protect us. Right? And this, my friend, can cause many things. When we're talking about what anxiety causes, it causes us to have pain in the bodies. Causes us to have illnesses. Because anxiety and nervousness causes us to have illness. It causes us to have the pain of not being able to grasp what we desire. Because there's attachment, right? So when there's no mujahada, right, and there is a lot of anxiety, a lot of bad thoughts, a lot of bad habits, because it's living with the power or the illusion of the ego, then obviously this person will always fall ill. And that's why when you see medical reports, anxiety causes illnesses. One of the main causes of heart attacks and all these kind of things, because you're always anxious, stressed. Can you see the link now between stress and the ego? I always tell our murids to work such that to have the tension around you and not within you. There will always be tension around you. There will always be tension around you. Nothing's going to be perfect. But don't allow that tension to be within you. If there is tension within, then we need to run to the 4 pillars of life. Number 1 is what? Run back to worship. After you've done your worship, you need to go to the second pillar in life, which is what? Struggle. Struggle to overcome those tensions within. And then it comes to the third pillar, Riyah. Go back to your teachers and ask, are there specific amals that I can do to overcome this within me? And then direct the self to pillar number 4, which is what? La Naqshbandi illallah. There is no other goal except for Allah. That's how we keep the tension outside of us and not within us. Because the world is impermanent. So now you understand this. All of this, yang you nampak, impermanence, is La ilaha. Belum illallah. I stop there. La ilaha. Impermanence. There is no God worthy of worship here. La ilaha. The ego, the nafsu, the ignorance, the attachment, the anger, all of this falls into what we call as the false deities. We minus it all out. La ilaha illallah. Illallah is deeper. So when you understand this, you go back home and then you write down all of your problems and all this anxiety, you will fall under La ilaha. So La ilaha, a problem, I feel unlovable, unwanted, this and that, my ego, I cannot wake up for Fajr, etc., etc. All of this is caused by these 4 enemies, which causes me to have ignorance, etc. is summed up in our kalima of La ilaha. What is the anecdote for this? Illa. Itulah maknanya zikir nafi wa isbat, which is found in the suluk of many tariqahs. All tariqahs, in fact, they must have this zikir. So when you understand this, then you go back to life. With this kalima, can you protect your family? With this kalima, can you save yourself from anxiety? But you need this understanding. Then can we talk about ma'rifah lah, hakikat lah, apa. Many people are learning ma'rifah with the love of the world. Many people are doing ma'rifah with anxiety, with the ego. What ma'rifah is that? What ma'rifah is that? How are you going to know when you're clouded by the ego? Lagi Allah. Right? So what happens is, this causes illnesses, etc. And one thing is, our awareness becomes so limited that we have problems with our memories. So when we are we're drowned with our anxiety, and we don't understand the reasons behind it, which is the 4 enemies, etc. One thing you also start to see is that your memory starts to lose, because you're always tense. Where did I put my keys? Padahal budak tu umur 21 tahun. Keep forgetting things. Keep coming up for the appointment late and not doing the tasks, etc. Self-discipline becomes lower. That's why I always tell people, if you look at Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, where he is, right? Just looking at effort, of course, everything is from Allah. Him as a sheikh, can you imagine him as a murid? Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, he is as a sheikh, Sultan Awliya, Muhammad Ashfiya, etc., etc. The karamas he has done, the knowledge that he has, etc., etc. All of those things. Now look at him and look at him as a murid. Macam mana agaknya? What is that he had, the struggles he went through to amends, right? We can do that, right? 1 year he eats, doesn't drink. Next year he drinks, he doesn't eat. One year he stand on 1 feet just reading the Quran the whole night to khatam. That's to erase the ego. How does he do this? For most of his life, he pray with the wudu from Isha. The same wudu, he'll pray Fajr. So we're not talking about karamats now, we're not talking about what? Mujahadah. The four pillars of life. His mother, Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, parented the Sheikh upon three things. So the basis of the parenting of Sheikh Abdul Qadir al-Jilani is based on three things. Awal, zuhud. His mother, Mukha, taught him zuhud. First things first is not to have any attachment, don't have love of the world. Number two, the mother of the Sheikh taught him about ibadah, worship. Although the mother didn't have to, because the Sheikh basically started fasting the day he was given birth to. Number three, then the mother taught him about taqwa. We in this day and age, we start with what? Taqwa dulu. Allah, taqwa dulu. You must have the consciousness of God. How to have the consciousness of God when you're always with apa that game? No? No, yang di sana main tu. In the room lah with your friends, they all. Huh? Minecraft. Oh, berat betul. My memory, my anxiety. When I see the game, I get anxious. So I don't remember it. Right? How to tell the kid to, you must have taqwa, pray on time, Hey, Mama is still attached to Minecraft. How? Not going through the right channel. The first thing is what? Love of the world. Understand? This Minecraft is what? Impermanence. Don't be too attached to it. So it also, this process helps you to overcome your bad habits. Understand, Abdullah? Parenting doesn't stop. Even when you're giving lecture 24/7, it continues. Problematic having father than you know. How you anxious there. Okay. He even undergoes the problem of making simple decisions because of the pressure of anxiety. So they cannot even decide what to think, what to eat. What to eat? Nasi ayam je lah. What to eat? Nasi ayam je lah. Every day also nasi ayam. Ayam bermacam. Okay, there's always a song. These are my favorite crowd. This uncertainty creates disturbances within ourselves. This is the most important part. Now, this is where you observe yourself. It creates disturbances within the self. This creates a conflict within the self. So you can imagine now the self is made up of four things, or four aspects: the akal, the ruh, the spiritual heart, and the nafs. Now, because of the anxiety, there is already a clash within the self. The akal, the brain, and the nafsu, and the this, and the iman, everything is now fighting with each other. It becomes a conflict. This, in turn, will create the inability to make decisions in life. That's why we're always going to the web. What if I were to do this? What if I do this? Looking for the opinions of others, and we cannot make our own decisions. Of course, there's nothing wrong with seeking advice, but what we do now is we outsource authority. Fathers, as leaders of family, outsource authority. Hey, you talk to someone here. My son. Mothers outsource their authorities as well. And this creates a family that is always susceptible to the infiltration of shaitan. Right? We go in completely blank. That means because of anxiety, our mind starts to become a blank. And having no specific thoughts or direction, so your fikiran, your thoughts are everywhere. It's not directed. It's not la maqsuda. There isn't ibadah, mujahada, riyada, la maqsuda in Allah. It's everywhere. Your thoughts are everywhere. And out of this, we become uncaring and passive. And we create a cycle of despair. So these are the effects of anxiety, right? And when we understand this, what we need to go back home is we need to understand ourselves and ask ourselves, can I, with this knowledge, identify anxiety? Number two, do I see these effects upon myself? And number three, can I practice the solution that is given from this talk or this sharing session? Because of time, I'm going to make it very brief. There is the ratib that we have, which is a compilation of different adhkar, etc. But the key part of the ratib is how we do our tahleel, our la ilaha illallah. I want to share with you the philosophy behind the movement of the head when we do our dhikr. So when we start to do dhikr, if some of you had come for the Buddha yesterday, I would have explained this as well. That means it should be on YouTube now. So we start with the la ilaha illallah with the head from the left. La ilaha to the right. Then it goes into the heart and it says illallah. So when you do the dhikr of la ilaha, tell yourself, I negate, Ya Allah, negate for me my ego, my nafsu, my love of the world and whisperings of shaitan. Okay? And then you say into your heart and affirm for me, Ya Allah, what? Illallah, you. Permanence. Exactly. Impermanence, permanence. So where is the permanence? Where is the impermanence? Around you. First, we need to set up this boundary dulu. Once you understand this boundary of the impermanence and the permanence, then can we talk about other things. But before that, I will teach you another method as well. This is to get rid of the khathar, all of the thinking that goes on in our minds. So I want you to take out what was taught to me by some of our teachers. Depends. We can always modify this. This is not like a thing. No. Example. You look at the alif beat of your tasbih, right? So we all have our tasbih. Do you have it with you? Not digital one, your tasbih. If you don't have a tasbih, Mukha sells one. Please go down and buy one right now, inshallah. The commission's here. Tasbihs are so important. You get what I'm trying to say? Any tasbihs, take one, take one. Look at the alif beat. You have your alif beat here? If you don't have, then take out your shahada finger. Simple techniques I'm going to teach you that you can use to overcome anxiety every day. Take out your shahada finger, or your tasbih, the alif beat. Now in your mind, not in your heart, in your mind, right? That's how we sang the song, what's in your... Now what you want to do, you want to get rid of that zombie in the head. What do? You say, Amantu billahi wa rasulihi. I have faith in Allah and I have faith in Rasulullah. If you can't say the Arabic, just say the English. I have faith, I have iman in Allah and I have iman in Rasulullah. Now we're going to do this. Do we have a timer? Okay. We're going to do this for a good 3 minutes. I'm taking a bit of time. Is it okay?
Okay, no. Sure.
If you need to leave because of some things, please do. I'm just going to take a bit of the time. For 3 minutes, we are going to look at the alif beat and we're going to clear our mind of everything. Good thoughts, bad thoughts, what you don't want. Because now you're trying to concentrate on who? On Allah. So the ego can even present itself in good thoughts. You get what I'm trying to say? So at this moment, you want khushu'. My grandfather always translates khushu' as being absorbed in the presence of Allah. Being absorbed in the presence of Allah. So for 3 minutes, we're just going to keep repeating this in our mind. Amantu billahi wa rasulihi. And it's timing. Keep repeating, understand? Time starts now. Bismillah. Slowly come back to the room. Was that the longest 3 minutes of your life? So can you imagine now the barakah of time? And we are not anxious, already barakah will come in. Three minutes of your life can have a deep effect. But our anxiety and all doesn't want us to have these 3 minutes. Our four enemies. How many of you feel much more clearer in your sight? Raise your hands. Do you feel lighter? Yes. You feel more at ease? Because for that 3 minutes, you were out of the control of the four enemies. Even the thought of when is this going to end, that needs to be pushed aside. You get what I'm trying to say? Sometimes we tell ourselves, I have to do this 2 rakaat, I must do 2 extra 2 rakaat, we tell ourselves. That is actually ego. When the conversation within us should be, Ya Allah, give me the power to do this 2 rakaat. Total surrender even our thoughts. That's how subtle the ego can be. Right? When we are at peace, the children will be at peace, the family will be at peace. You get what I'm trying to say? When our thoughts are at peace, our heart is at peace. So don't you think zikr has a lot of hikmah and power? That was zikr. Okay? So now with that clarity of mind, I will now guide you to do the next zikr, which is the kalimah. La ilaha. These 4 zikrs can be found in the ratib. One is La ilaha illallah. So you start the movement from the head to the left. And then La ilaha illallah. The second zikr is illallah. So there's no more negating of the impermanence, but focus on the permanence, which is illallah. So you from the right, you go to the left, illallah. Then after that we go to the next one, which is Allahu Allah, which means we're now trying to witness this beauty of light within ourselves. Allah, you, only you are Allah, not me. I don't have anything, all is you. This is where the ego starts to dissipate. Akhir, as we go for, so then Allahu, Allah. From the right, Allahu, Allah. Allahu, Allah. Understand? Last is the zikr of Allah. So we look up, eyes closed of course, and we understand that all of the great tajalli of Allah comes from the heavens, from the throne, and it enters into our hearts, and then it dissipates and takes away all of the illnesses and all of our 4 enemies. So you're asking for shifa by the name of Allah to be filled in the heart. So in the ratib, the zikr are broken up with salawat, etc. But here we'll do the 4 zikr 33 times each and together. So I encourage all of you to sit up straight. Now, one of the ways to protect oneself while doing zikr and to really harness the power and energy of zikr is to put your palms onto your knees. Reason being, our Shaykh mentions, and some of the Chisti Shaykh, they mentioned in the books of the manuals of zikr, is that when you see Alif, Lam, Lam, Ha. So you ask Allah in the name of Allah, you put it here, you lock yourself. So I don't want any shaitan to come and disturb me. Both on the right and on the left. So if you need to hold your tasbih, of course, with the right hand, but the left hand at least you put here. Now, through this, you will feel a heat that comes through the knees. Shuyukh has mentioned that there is a vein below the left feet here, the main artery, that goes up into apa ni? Hana, the jantung kan? This is the artery that khannas, the whisperings of shaitan, travels in. Understand? Khan. So qul a'udhu bi rabbil nas, malikin nas, ilahin nas, min sharril waswasil khannas. Aina khannas? It travels. So like Prophet said, we fast because the shaitan travels in the blood vein, right? So it travels. One of the directions of the travels of khannas is here. Sometimes when you start to do the dhikr, to burp la, apalah, it's just yesterday's nasi lemak. Don't think too much about it. Because it wants you to think about that and not about la maqsuda. You get what I'm trying to say? It always tells you, oh no, this must be a certain thing or certain that or this or that. Move away from that and go to your goal, which is la maqsuda in Allah. So these are some of the aspects of zikr. That's why, there are some shuyukh, one night they only breathe 4 times. There are thousands of zikr, they only take 4 breaths. Imam al-Haddad was one of them, he did Ya Latif 5,000 with 1 breath. You need to go swimming all, etc. You're going swimming within yourself. The power is within that. La maqsuda. So can we do the dhikr together? It's just 33 each, inshallah. If you are not clear about the movement, just have a look, inshallah, and then we'll do it together. Brilliant. Okay. And together, inshallah. I'll take away the mic, will that be okay? So let's close our eyes, position yourself, and then hold it. Let the heat of the palm goes into your legs. Together, inshallah. أفضل الذكر فاعلم أنه لا إله إلا الله. Together. لا إله إلا الله. 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 لا
الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم.
The next zikr is illallah. So we start with the head from the right shoulder and it hits the heart with the kalima of illallah. Together, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Illallah, 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 illallah. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Alhamdulillah. Now, the next zikr is Allahu Allah. So from the right shoulder onto the right parts of the chest and then into the middle of the chest. Allah, oh Allah. The thought that goes in is Allah, you are Allah. Total surrendering of the thoughts of the heart to Allah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Allahu Allah, 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 Allahu Allah.
The next zikr is Allah. So we look up with our eyes closed, understanding that all of the Rahman descends upon into our hearts, and our self is all enveloped in the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Sayyidina Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and that we leave here with this zikr, shifa, inshaAllah, and purity of our minds and our thoughts and our hearts, inshaAllah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allah, 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 Allah,
Allah, Allah, Allah, Allah.
Now, inshallah, keeping the dhikr in your heart, eyes closed, your head points towards the heart, your chest, and keep the dhikr of La ilaha illallah in your heart, knowing that you're keeping all of the impermanence outside of you and the permanence within you. Bismillah, we'll do this for 33 counts. الفاتحة. Take the palms, blow onto your palms and wipe over your whole body. Bismillah. So, my beloved brothers and sisters, in this almost an hour class, it's 9:45, am I right? Oh, thank God. Yes. My apologies for the delay, but I hope that you leave with these points that will be beneficial for you and your family. You can find those adhkar that I've given in the Ratib Kamaliyah. Why is it called Kamaliyah? Because it's based on the Salawat Nariyah, which is Allahumma salli salatan kamilatan. Understand, it's based on the Salawat which is Kamil, which is all complete, all encompassing. In that Salawat there is Salawat and Salam. So Allahumma salli salatan kamilatan. So we are asking Allah send the most perfect of benedictions for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wa sallim salaman taman ala. Or just send peace, Ya Allah, my salams, my greetings to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So already in that salawat, there is salawat wa salam. You get both in that salawat qarya. And the rest you can read the translation, inshallah. So I hope these small sessions and these bits of Amantu Billahi wa Rasulihi, the movement of the dhikr in the head, and with understanding why you do it, and this philosophy. If you work with this, inshallah, for the next few months, you will see, inshallah, the blessings of our Shaykh and the Holy Prophet sallallahu tremendous changes in your life. Right? Kalau kita yoga, boleh buat, takkan zikir gerak kepala tak boleh buat. You get what I'm trying to say? I'm sure some of us are doing yoga here, dog pose. All the pose we're doing, come on man, dhikr with the head. Why am I doing this? This is not, a few generations in our Shaykh did not do this. I sought permission to do this again, reason being, because our senses are connected to our screens. And I notice when people do not move in their dhikr, they're not making dhikr. They're imagining things. And then they're not getting the energy and the power of Zikrullah. So you can find this in manuals of the Chisti suluk of doing dhikr, it is there. So even in the Qadiris, etc., the movement of the head. Why? Because people are just so excited about dunya, but when it comes to akhirah, they'll be sleeping. And he called it dhikr. Shaykh has mentioned that when you do dhikr, you're supposed to sweat. Because the heat of zikr will burn all of the fats around the heart that causes waswas. And how powerful zikr is. Understand? So with this, and you can carry on, mashallah, but this, up to now, I think this is sufficient, inshallah. I seek your forgiveness for all of my singing, first of all. Was in your head, was outside your head, etc. I seek forgiveness for all of my dad jokes, number 2. I seek forgiveness for a lot of things, and most of all, I seek forgiveness if there's any wrong in my speech. in my delivery. And whatever that is good is from Allah, Rasul, and from my shuyukh, our murshids. Whatever that is not is from my fakir self. I seek your forgiveness. I once again would like to thank Mukha, Ba and Mukha as well for allowing this fakir to be here. For we have benefited from very much from their presence for these many few years. And I hope that this Sirat Rahim continues for the intention of La Maqsuda. Inshallah, Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Thank you again, Murshid Raja Ehsaniyyah, for your very wisdomful and powerful, wonderful and powerful sharing on wisdom and power of Zikrullah. Alhamdulillah. So I think you can take a look at the board and you can see all the concise points from what Murshid has shared. Alhamdulillah. So I think what I want to share, just a bit more, if you allow me, is if you feel that you have benefited from today, we are actually, this is something that we would like to introduce to everyone. Yani the Ehsaniyyah Dua and Study Circle. So what is the Ehsaniyyah Dua and Study Circle? If you can see, okay. So the Dua and Study Circle, they aim to help seekers to use Zikrullah as an intervention for modern day problems. So the intentions of the circle is to, number one, learn Zikrullah, and to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to identify the problems that we face in life, which here is summarized as anxiety, and then to address these problems. And also, the circle comes together with the intention to feed people, because when we come together as a form of service to the community. And on top of that, to make dua for the Jama'ah circle, for the community, and to nurture a positive attitude in increasing faith. So these study circles is what an idea from an initiative from Raja Ehsaniyyah. It's the study circle is meant to meet on a regular basis, once or twice a month, to perform communal ibadah and dua, as well as to learn and reflect on the teachings of Raja Ehsaniyyah on Zikrullah in the modern day, in a structured and coordinated manner. As you can see here, I think one of the greatest blessings that we have from Raja Ehsaniyyah is how he structures it so that we can apply it in such a great manner, so we are not lost in the ocean of knowledge of Zikrullah. Alhamdulillah. This is one of the roles of effect. Alhamdulillah. So the seeker will benefit by gaining access to these tools to address their issues in life, as well as to connect back to Allah and His Messenger. And the circles of the dua and study circles actually form a conduit of goodness to enter, goodness to enter not just their lives, but to their families, to the Jummah, as well as the general community, inshallah. So to be part of this study circle, you can see, you can, what is meant to be is that the seekers will get together and then we will reflect on the sharings of Raja Ehsaniyyah, which can be found on the Khanqah's YouTube channel. So there are different playlists which Raja Ehsaniyyah has shared earlier, which is the first one that we should start off with to be Zikr 101. And then you have the Ruinous Streets playlist on Spotify. You have your preliminary practices, etc. So when these circles gather together and to reflect, with the assistance of some of the local murids, for example in Singapore, by keeping in constant connection with the murids for Raja Ehsaniyyah, you will be able to direct and you'll be able to not just reflect but also tune your life with teachings, even though you might not be in Singapore. This is what we are trying to. This is what Raja Ehsaniyyah is trying with this dua and study circle, inshallah. So if you are interested, do sign up. And as you can see, all participants will receive a free copy of the Way of Ehsaniyyah and also the Imdadul Ehsaniyyah by Raja Ehsaniyyah. So what is an Imdadul Ehsaniyyah? Just a short explanation. Imdadul Ehsaniyyah is a series of du'as that Raja Ehsaniyyah has crafted for the Khanqah to actually make dua for one another. So a lot of times we ask people to make dua for us. We forget that we also have the duty to make dua for each other, and also the duty make dua for the duties, for the responsibilities of the Khanqah to actually be carried out, and also the aspirations and visions of our murshid to be expressed and to be carried out. So this is with this Imdadul Ehsaniyyah, we actually have a structure. We actually have a set list of du'as They are in English for us to be making du'as for one another. You can take a look at the back after you've scanned the QR code. If you scan it, you can bring home. If you've not scanned it, you can just take it. But I will prepare. Yeah. And the group also come together. So what you've experienced just now, the small session of zikir, is actually part of the whole Ratib Kamaliyah, inshallah. So we hope that these circles will come together and do zikir together, inshallah.
If I may just add, this does not mean that you join the Tariqah. Get what I'm trying to say? If you're not comfortable with calling me Murshid, it's okay, call me Mohsin. It's not about the title. I have one goal and one goal only, is that people must engage in Zikrullah. You get what I'm trying to say? Yeah. So even because he addresses me as Murshid, I can call him Murshid. Then people come, what do I call you? And then I just straight away say Mohsin. You get what I'm trying to say? Because it's easy. I'm here with just this one goal, make zikr. Whatever else happens later, is up to Allah. But it is a duty of ours as shuyukh, as in this path, as fakir of this path, we need to engage people in zikr. You get what I'm trying to say? And number one and number two, dua. Sorry to intervene there. So these structures are meant to gather people, as in seekers who are seeking, to be doing reflections based on this playlist of videos. You can listen to them first on your own, and then if you're interested to study as a circle, I'll be more than happy. So after that, you can contact Nasrul. So he's in charge of center and teacher services. So he will then be liaising with the different study groups as well. And then he will bring those queries back to me. So I will still address the queries, the direction, etc. Right now, it's still at the preliminary stage. We've just transcribed the 28 videos, and we're still trying to edit them to make them into teaching, learning material. But why wait when you have the videos? So if we can start doing it, it'd be great. And it doesn't have to be high commitment. So if we can put aside 2 hours a week, right? So we come from Maghrib, we do Salat Hajat, we read Dua for each other. There's a structure we are doing, so I've even given tips on how we can do that as a group. And then start to do the Ratib and listen to the week one of Dua and Zikr 101. Then do reflections, etc. Come back next week and then discuss those reflections. And if you have questions after practicing it, forward them to Nasrul. Then I will get back to you. And then if this is good, then I can come once in 2 months, in that sense. You get what I'm trying to say? And then we're building people with knowledge. If you don't want to take bayah, it's fine. It's not about that. And I'm not ashamed to talk about it either. You get what I'm trying to say? It's something that we need to know. I see if we can do yoga, we can do zikr. Simple method. Betul tak? If you can do go gym, or do all the weird postures, then let's do our zikr together. There's nothing to be ashamed about. Seriously. Right? So these are the circles of this. They are circles of intervention for anxiety. Let's take it as that. Get what I'm trying to say? So Nasrul is going to put down all of this. So if you're interested, please let us know, inshallah. Okay, all right? Okay, then close with it.
So if you have any questions, again, like what Raja Ehsaniyyah said, you can approach me. For the ladies, if they're more comfortable, you can approach me. Sister Shazana will raise her hand very high.
By then,
Okay. So next, just another small announcement. We have great news. Inshallah, one of the campaigns of the Khanqah is Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, also popularly known as MHOH. So this year will be our 5th annual 40 Days Salawat Challenge. So what is the 40 Days Salawat Challenge? It is a Salawat challenge where for 40 days we make an intention to recite Salawat constantly. So here it says aims to increase within the community love and connection to Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam through the daily recitation of 1,000 Salawat. So 1,000 Salawat may seem a bit a lot for some of us, especially myself. Then we always start with a smaller number, inshallah. The aim here is not about the quantity, but it's about the consistency. So I think this is a small story. I think a few years ago there was a family who collectively did 1,000 Salawat. By the next year, alhamdulillah, through the blessings of that, each of the family members were able to do 1,000 Salawat on their own. So the vision of it is to make Salawat on the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam as a way for us to increase iman and overcome obstacles in life. So I think just to share, Alhamdulillah, through this challenge from last year, we actually managed to get about 400 participants. And Alhamdulillah, we managed to, in total, recite about 12.5 million salawat.
In 40 days. So the idea is to have this 40 days barakah. So 1,000 every day, and all in that 40 days, there will be a set of du'as that you make for each other. We've heard so many stories of people being saved in accidents while they were doing the challenge, etc. And they were carrying a newborn at the same time. It's just the blessings of salawats, and it's not about reaching like one majlis as you did. So it's about creating a community of Ahlul Salawat. Itu je, creating a community of Ahlul Salawat. So if we can do that, I mean, we've been doing it, we've got participants from Africa, etc., etc. And it's nothing physical, all is online. So no, we don't know whose dua we're benefiting from. That's the beautiful part. You get what I'm trying to say? So that's the power of salawat, inshallah.
So to know coming in, so when does it start? It starts on the 7th of August. It goes all the way until the 15th of September 2024 this year. And on the last day, Raja Ehsaniyyah will make a dua for the campaign. So harnessing the total number of salawat that has been done in the community and the effort of the community will be used as an intercession through our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam for all our hajats to be fulfilled and all our balak to be lifted.
Ameen.
So to find out more, you can register on ehsaniyyah.com. Ehsaniyyah.com is a wonderful collection of all the resources of the Khanqah, inshallah. And if you want to know more, if you scan the QR code, you will definitely go to the campaign, the website and the campaign page itself. So, Alhamdulillah, that's all I have to share. If you have any questions again.
One last thing is the newsletter. I think that's very important. Every month we give out a newsletter for free on PDF. That's how you can keep connected with the teachings that goes on in the Khanqah every month. And it's something that you see. There's a lot of pictures, very nice. I told them to cut down my pictures, but they keep putting more. I don't understand. So I take out, cukup lah gambar saya tu tak. But Alhamdulillah, okay, fine. So, but there are all those other teachings that based on the videos and the reflections from the teaching, from the students, etc., etc. Where we go for Qurban if you're interested, that kind of thing. So it keeps you connected with the Khanqah through our monthly newsletter, and it's a way that you are also updated with the teachings that goes on. It is all free. So if you like to support us, in that sense, support us by downloading the newsletter, reading it, passing it on, so that the message of Zikrullah spreads to more hearts, inshallah. And I cannot thank enough all of those who traveled with me from Singapore to overcome all of the obstacles that happens at the airport, etc., and to bring the children to be here tonight. I'd like to thank every one of you, and to everybody here that hosted us beautifully. May Allah bless all of you. Ameen. So thank you, everybody, inshallah. Inshallah. We're supposed to make dua for Sarah. He's leaving for
moving to Qatar.
Qatar.
So supposed to be here, but she couldn't make it due to traveling soon.
Inshallah. Let's recite this Fatiha, inshallah, for Sarah. خصوص وإلى حضرة النبي المصطفى سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم, and also for all of the beautiful souls here in this Jama'ah, in this beautiful Zawiyah, and may Allah protect this initiative, inshallah, and to all of us here as well, and to our families, and khusus for Sarah, who's making a hijrah in the month of hijrah, inshallah. May she and her family be protected. شعل الله لهم الفاتحة. بالله التوفيق والهداية. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. If you're wondering about Isha, we have done our Isha. If you need to do, please go ahead, inshallah. Thank you. I'm sorry, I took up.